Hi everyone, welcome to our next edition of Ask the Expert. Today we are focusing on comprehension, but specifically all about commenting on personification. So let's get started. Firstly, what is personification? Personification is when you give something that is non-human, human qualities or feelings, or you make it seem like it's alive, okay, like a human. And another thing that's good to know is that personification is a type of metaphor. Okay, so quite important to know that. Now, I've got an example question here with a little short piece of text. The text reads, "As she moved slowly through the woods, she gazed upwards. Trees obscured her view, but when she came out into the clearing, she suddenly saw lightning dancing across the sky." So the question in this comprehension paper is, what language feature has the author used in line 3 and why has she used this? And it's worth 3 marks. So the first thing that you're going to need to do is actually identify the language feature. And so you look at line 3 and you see that we've got suddenly saw lightning dancing across the sky. We can identify that as a piece of personification. And then we've got to think about the trickier part of it, which is why has the author used this? And that is the hardest part of it. I'm going to show you sort of step by step how you might go about answering this type of question. Number 1 is obviously go back to the passage, identify that language feature in line 3, and we can see that it's personification. It's almost like that is your point in your PEE method, your point, evidence, explain method. So the identification of the language feature is your point, and that's really easy to answer, okay? You can identify it as personification. The next thing you've got to do is think about why the author's used it. So in this case, we've got to think about what it does, what the personification allows the reader to imagine. What image does it help us imagine? And the best way of doing it is coming up with synonyms or phrases for the part of the sentence that makes it personification. With personification, it's always number 3 there. It's always important to say that it's alive or it's like a human. That's, what personification is. So it's quite nice to add that into your answer. And as I've said there, and I mentioned it earlier, do use your PEE method to help you answer this question. It really does help you structure the answer. So let's have a look at doing this, and you can see an example answer that I've created here. We can see here, we've identified it, okay, it's personification. I've then decided to think of sort of synonyms and similar phrases so that it can help me in my answer. So I've said prancing or like a dancer, and I'm going to try and use those phrases within my answer. My point here, the author has used personification. Easy peasy. Okay, I've identified that language feature and I'm going to get a mark for that, which is great. When she describes the lightning as dancing. Okay, here is my evidence, my E in my PEE method. Okay, the author has used personification when she describes the lightning as dancing. Then comes the evaluation, okay, the second E in our PEE. And this is where I've got to explain why the author's used it. I said, this gives the impression that the lightning is alive and is moving like a dancer. It might look as though the lightning bolts are like arms and legs prancing around the sky. So you can see I've used those synonyms that I came up with earlier in my answer. I've really tried to add detail to why I think the author has used it. And you can see, I've said, it might look as though the lightning bolts are like arms and legs. I've tried to really work out why I think the author has used the word dancing. Okay, what image does it create? So you can see that all of that is my explanation. So I'm hoping that I'm going to get a mark for my point, a mark for my evidence, and a mark for my explanation. You may not need that evidence. It already says in the question in line 3. So perhaps I might get 2 marks for my explanation. And that's why I've gone into a little bit more detail in that explanation. I've also said, that it's alive, okay? I've tried to include that so that it's almost like showing off what personification is, that you know what personification is. Now, have a go. You can pause the video and have a go at answering a similar personification question. You can look at the text below and then look at the question. Have a go at answering it in the same structure that I did, using your point, your evidence, and your explanation. Pause the video now and have a go. Okay, hopefully you've all had a chance to have a look at this one. It says, spring had arrived. The smell of freshly cut grass lingered in the air while the sun's warmth felt hotter than in previous months. The daffodils nodded their yellow heads at the walkers as they strolled by. The question, what language feature has the writer used and why is it effective? There might be other types of language feature the author has used. You could pick out one, and that one feature could be that lovely personification that we've got in that penultimate line. The daffodils nodded their yellow heads at the walkers as they strolled by. Nodded their yellow heads. Let's have a look at my example answer. I've got my point. The writer has used personification. I've got some evidence. For example, the daffodils nodded their yellow heads at the walkers. This is effective as it allows the reader to imagine the daffodil flowers moving up and down in the wind. It makes them seem alive, as though they are greeting the people walking past. I've just noticed a typo in this one, where it said my example, the daffodils. I've got an apostrophe there, which I don't need, so I'm going to get rid of that later. So there, I've got my evidence and I've got my lovely explanation, which gives extra detail and hopefully gets those 3 marks. Brilliant. So I hope that's been helpful for you. Bright Light Education, who we are, we offer tutoring services, one-to-one tuition, and also courses, lots of different courses, creative writing, comprehension courses, and 11+ preparation courses. So do get in touch if you are looking for any of the following here. We've got phonics, we've got homeschooling, lots of creative writing courses for all year groups, as well as those others there too. Please do get in touch if you need our help. Thanks so much. Bye.